Greetings, motherfuckers. It's the Fake Sagan, and I'm going to be responding to some more videos on this secular humanism topic. Now, for anybody in the audience who's as sick and tired of the whole thing as I am, feel free to skip this one. There's no rule that says you have to sit through the whole video and then leave an obnoxious comment about how you wish that I would talk about something else. Okay? Because I will talk about lots of other things. This won't be the last video I ever make, so if you're not interested, fuck off, right? Okay. Now let's begin with Healthy Addict.
Wow, Mr. Hardface, I didn't realize that you thought I was a cult leader.
Well, I don't really think that you're a cult leader, Ashley. To put it bluntly, I think you're a cultist. If anything, Richard Dawkins is the leader, but, I don't really think there's a formal structure to secular humanism. Don't get me wrong, you're an intelligent, beautiful, vivacious, effervescent cultist, but, yeah, I do think that you're a cultist.
Well, first off, I'm really not sure where to start with this. I'm probably a little on the fence with what you're saying, and I'm not sure if I fully understand it. But I, for one, wouldn't consider myself a humanist by any means, although I kind of feel the need to, I guess, defend it in a way, because I work with a lot of humanists, and as you know, I'm pretty heavily involved in the activist community.
Yes, you're very heavily involved, Ash. I watch your videos. I'd go as far as to say fanatically committed, and I'm sure you think it's perfectly normal. Now, you don't consider yourself a secular humanist, but I consider you a secular humanist, and this is part of what I'm talking about. Very few secular humanists will identify themselves as such, or think of themselves as such. But here's the litmus paper test for you to figure out whether you are or not, okay? Ask yourself this question. Do you think the world would be a better place without religion? If the answer is yes, you're a secular humanist. If the answer is no, you're not. Now wait, Fake Sagan, you criticize religion all the time. Yeah, because it's groupthink, but do I think the world would be a better place without religion in specific? No. And a lot of the secular humanists here on YouTube are the reason that I don't think that. I mean, these people are all the proof I need that it's human nature we're contending with, not some specific doctrine. I don't think the world would be better without religion. I think it would be the same as it is now.
So, something I wrote down, you used dictionary.com to define a cult, so I'm going to use it to define humanism. Same thing, Random House. Now, this is more along the lines of the definition of humanism that I'm familiar with. You seem to throw in there, like, activism and whatnot, and I really wonder if what you have a problem with is more so the humanist activist organizations or just humanism itself. So,
as I've already said, Ashley, both. I have a problem with the philosophy itself because it's utopian, and I have a problem with the groups that spring up around it.
Now, when we're talking about cults, usually we refer to cults as being harmful. So that kind of strays a little bit from the definitions I think that you were looking up, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't agree with that. I consider it very harmful, Ashley. Let's get something straight here. I don't think secular humanists are dressed in black robes, sacrificing goats behind closed doors. So, okay, you got to remember, I was heavily involved in this movement myself, and you do remember that. But I think it's harmful to people's individuality. I think groupthink is harmful in and of itself, and I think it leads to other harms.
I know you went on a bunch of tangents here, like comparing the Secular Coalition for America as being the same as donating to a televangelist. And I worked with the SCA a little bit, and well, In particular, I made a YouTube video for them. And the difference between donating to a televangelist and that, with a televangelist, you're putting money directly, pretty much, into his pocket. With them, they're an advocacy group.
Okay, Ash, touche. You know what, comparing the secular coalition to televangelism was hyperbolic. It was a dumb comparison. All I want to illustrate is that money is changing hands in this movement. There's a collection plate being passed for various groups, and you know, for me, that's usually a good red flag. That's a good indication that something untoward is going on. If there's a collection plate being passed around, maybe you feel differently.
I guess another thing that you mentioned was like having symbols. I don't know if you think something like this. Maybe this is just the Dawkins little red A thing is like supposed to be an atheistic cross or what have you. I know I certainly don't see it that way. I mean, I see, for example, wearing these as a way to, for people who recognize it, who don't have some type of community or were brought up in some type of fundamentalist home and wants to meet like-minded people, they have a way of picking out people that they think confront. You consider that a way of cult recruitment, which isn't what I'm trying to do, whatever. What I do in my activism is I try and provide community for people who don't have it.
The Scarlet Letter. I didn't even know those existed before I saw your video, Ash. I don't frequent Richard Dawkins' website because I just don't have this abiding interest in evolutionary biology that the rest of you guys have. You know, that's all the man ever drones on and on about all day, just this dry science stuff, you know. And that's a joke, of course, because he never talks about science. He talks about a social agenda. Anyway, you know, I couldn't help but notice, Ash, that you kind of gave a nervous laugh after you said, well, fake Sagan, I don't know if you see this as like an atheist cross. You know that I do. You're walking down the street with a devotional pin on your lapel. And, you know, you say that, oh, well, this isn't like a crucifix because, you know, I just wear this to, you know, enable me to identify like-minded people on the street. Well, what the fuck is a crucifix? Why do they have the little Jesus fish on the back of their cars? I mean, it's so you're walking down the street, somebody sees the cross, and they go, hey, Jesus, right? And an instant connection is formed, not based on any real shared experience or mutual understanding, but just an instant group identification, and you get that cheap pop. You get that little warm glow of camaraderie, right? I'm willing to bet you had to, like, donate in order to get that thing, too. Is it like you give $50 to the Richard Dawkins Fuck the Pope in the Ass Foundation and he sends you a pin? Now, Ash, you said that a big part of your activism is providing this sense of community for people who lack it. Well, let me ask you a question, and you're going to think this is an odd question, all right? It's going to come right out of left field. Why? Why? Just because it makes them feel good, it makes you feel good? What's the point? You know, if you believe something, isn't that enough? Isn't it enough that Ashley believes it? Do you need this validation from the atheist Mickey Mouse Club? What the fuck is the point?
I don't see how a symbol would be telling that something is a cult. Businesses have their own symbols. I go drink coffee quite a bit, and I usually wind up at Starbucks or something because I recognize the little Starbucks symbol because that makes Starbucks a cult.
No, Ash. Starbucks isn't a cult.
Another thing that you mentioned is that you can't prove with evidence that secular humanism is a cult.
Right, but nor can I prove with evidence that Scientology is a cult. You know, I can provide examples that support that opinion, but can I